That's it. We are live. Hello, good day, and welcome to the Startup Show. My name is Roger Pierce. I'll introduce my lovely co-host, Lily Ma, in just a moment. If you are a new entrepreneur, someone thinking about starting a business, or maybe you recently launched a business, then you've come to the right place. You're in the right show. You're watching the right thing on YouTube, because we're here to answer your startup questions. And hopefully you'll walk away today with a little bit of helpful information to help you on your business journey. As I said, my name is Roger Pierce, and I am a startup expert. I have been a serial entrepreneur. I've had 14 small businesses in my career. I've worked with thousands of small business owners. I'm the co-author of a small business book. And today my company helps big companies like banks and brands engage small business customers using small business content. So everything in my world is about small business and starting and running one. Hopefully I can share some of that expertise with you here today. My favorite thing, because people ask about owning a small business, I'd have to say is being in control. It's something I hope you get to experience more and more of on your own small business journey. Enough about me. Please say hello to our lovely co-host, Lily Ma. Hi, Lily.
Hello, Roger. So nice to be here with you today. So for the people who are watching, I'm a business coach, I'm a life coach, and what I do is what I love to do, not necessarily what I do. What I love to do is I help hardworking people to build an extraordinary life and business. So today I have the questions from some of those people who want to know about the startups and different investment opportunities and so on. So I bring it to Roger. So Roger will give us a different perspective and also share his expertise. So Roger, are you ready?
I will do my best to share whatever expertise I have, Lily.
You have tons of it. Tons and tons of it. Okay. So the first question comes from Sean. He's saying, is starting multiple businesses over a certain period of time a good thing to get into towards a big thing? So I think he's starting multiple things with the hopes of getting into a bigger thing, from Sean.
Great question, Sean. Thank you, Lily, for bringing it to us here today. Sean, it's kind of like the question was written by me, because that's exactly what I struggle with all the time. As I mentioned, I've had 14 small businesses, and I often wonder, has that been the best path? Has that been the right path? And you know what? The answer is, it's your path. It's my path. It's okay to start multiple businesses. At one point, I had 5 companies, 5 different corporations going at the same time. And I had about 8 or 9 staff scattered across those 5 companies. I didn't feel like I was doing anything really, really well. 1 or 2 of them were succeeding. The rest were kind of moderate, mediocre performance. And 1 or 2 were tanking, frankly. But what emerged from that time, when I had 5 businesses going at the same time, was one good focus, something I love to do. And that was all about dispensing small business advice and helping small business owners. It all started with a government contract one of my companies got, and we developed a whole program designed to help people explore entrepreneurship, very much like we're doing here today. So from that mess of 5 companies, as I like to describe it, I found a path, a journey forward. I found something I love to do, and something that's ended up being the focus of the rest of my businesses since that time. So, you know, it's okay to have a number of businesses, either sequentially or all together. But a couple of suggestions, if I can share them, Sean, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. If your business is going down, try to fail quickly so you can get back to starting up another business. You don't want to drag out the process. You've heard this from other people before. If you sense it's going down, if you've tried everything, or it's just not the right business at the right time for the right market, let it go under, kill it. Hopefully don't lose too much money in the process so you can get back on that horse. Second thing is, because you are going through so many businesses, Sean, over your career, take care of your money throughout that process. If you can, put away 10% of everything you personally take home from each of your businesses. That way you've got some insurance for your own future and for your family by putting away some money. Because look, a business will suck up your money. It'll eat your money if you let it. So you've got to take money away from the business, put it aside, so you're not stuck down the road without having any personal cash. And the last thing I would recommend, Sean, is bring the best people along with you. If you've got one or two superstars in company number 3, bring the top superstar with you, if you can, to company number 4. Bring the best people with you. They've got some legacy, some history with you. You know what they're capable of. It'll save you from having to go out and find those talents again. Those are just my ideas, but I know Lily has got her own suggestions. Lily, what do you think about this subject?
I love your answer, and I think it's a very important thing to address is failing quickly. I think it's a hard thing to differentiate sometimes for entrepreneurs from, we have the really gritty, hardworking people. It's like, no, I'm going to keep going and never quit, never quit, never quit. And at the same time, there is a point that you have to just quit, and you have to quit as soon as possible. So this is a pain that I see in a lot of people that I work with is not knowing when the right time is to quit. And I'm from the camp, same as you, is if it's not working and you feel like, even if you don't feel like you have put in your all, but if it's a right time just to close up shop and move on to the next thing, I would suggest do it. And it's a pain point for me because I see a lot of people doing it, and they have lost a lot of money, they have lost a lot of time. It's just quit as soon as you feel like it's just not working. And I think it's linked to judgment from other people because it's linked to you failing because you're quitting something, but it's not. It's just you're letting go of something to move on to something better. And as soon as possible would be the best suggestion that I have for that.
You're right. You're not failing at all. You're just learning and you're moving on. You're applying what you've learned from one situation to the next. The real failure is giving up on entrepreneurship. The real failure is not applying what you've learned from a failed business, but quitting altogether. And I hate to see that happen. I hate to see people give up on this excellent of career choices.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point. Is the fact that there's your overarching goal you're not quitting on. It's the small things along the way that you're quitting on. So understanding that difference also is really beneficial for people.
Good point.
All right. Okay, so next question, Roger, comes from Ange. So she's asking, what do startup founders typically get wrong when starting a business? This is a really good question.
Good questions today.
Yeah.
What do startup founders do wrong? Well, a couple things, and I've been through these all, so learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and hopefully a few successes. But startup founders tend to second guess the market. There's an opportunity or propensity to get very excited about an idea and to jump right in, to think, oh, I know what the customer wants. I understand. Trust me, they're going to buy it. They're going to buy it. They're going to buy it. And when they don't, that causes real problems because all of a sudden you don't have the sales that you're planning on. So I would say, don't second guess the customer. Don't skip the required research. Secondly, they tend to get too excited about the business potential. And so they overestimate revenue and underestimate expenses. And that can lead to some spending up. So if you think you're going to make $1 million in the next year because your idea is just so fantastic, and if it works out that way, great. But chances are it may not make as much money as you had hoped during that first year. It takes a while to break a profit. So a lot of entrepreneurs go out and spend up, thinking, well, I'm going to make that $1 million. I can go out and spend most of it in anticipation of those earnings. Bad idea. That just puts you in a cash flow pickle, and all of a sudden you're running out of money before your business really gets its feet. Third thing that founders typically do wrong is they do too much by themselves. I'm a big fan of assembling a team, delegating your weaknesses, playing to your strengths, that kind of strategy. Don't try to do it all yourself. Most entrepreneurs are like the conductor of an orchestra, to use an old and overused example. You're there to coordinate efforts about a bunch of very smart and talented people or suppliers or partners, And your job is to free yourself up to lead the company, to innovate, and to manage. So try not to get stuck in the weeds doing most of the day-to-day operational stuff. And the last thing I would say is be prepared to pivot. And, you know, the business, and Evan Carmichael has said this too all the time, the business you start off in today will not be anything like the business you end up in a couple of years. Your business will change because you're going to learn. You're going to go, okay, this worked, this didn't work, that didn't work. And you're going to pivot. You're going to move along, not stop and take a completely different direction, but just make a little bit of a change, a little bit of adaptation along the way. Usually in response to what you're learning about the customer, or in response to what the competitors are throwing at you. Or maybe the entire industry has changed, or technology has forced some changes. So be prepared to pivot. And I always recommend a 2-year business plan. No point doing anything like a 5-year business plan because it's impossible to see that far in the future. You've got to remain a little bit flexible because you're going to have to adopt to some changes along the way. Lily, what are your thoughts on this excellent question?
I do. It's a really excellent question, and I had to think about it a little bit because everyone's journey is so different. So to paint a blanket statement on people, it's not something I'm comfortable doing. But this is stretching my comfort zone a little bit. From what I have seen in the people that I have worked with, the number one thing is what you mentioned, is trying to do everything on your own. That is the number one thing I have seen. And it's great to do everything on your own in the beginning because you are bootstrapping, you want to keep your expenses down. But at some point, if you want to grow, you have to leverage other people's strengths. The reality is we can be good at everything, but we probably don't want to because it's a lot of stress on the entrepreneur. And so my suggestion for Anne is if she is starting out in a business, is as soon as she's able to pay someone, and it doesn't have to be a crazy amount of money. It doesn't have to be someone you hire full-time for $50,000, $60,000 a year. There are people who could help you out part-time. There are interns. There are lots of different options that you can take. Is the founder of the company, the entrepreneur, need to decide what is the role of the CEO? What is the role that you want to take in order for you to move your company forward? Is that saying, Roger, is when you're always in the front line working, you're working in the business, not on the business. And as entrepreneurs, we want to work on the business, the vision. We're visionaries by nature. So you always want to keep moving a company forward. So that's the first one. And the second one is having a clear identity of your business. In a sense, like not necessarily to do with what exactly you're doing. It's more to do with what is the overarching purpose of your business. And that's when you could really identify a clear message to your clients. So one of the things that I do is I walk my clients through your one word, which is your single most important core value. So I know for Roger, his one word is start. And my one word is extraordinary. So everything that I do comes from that place. And people come to me who are interested in that. And same with Roger. There's a reason why people are attracted to Roger because he's about startups, take action right away, go, 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 right? So those are the two things I would add to your answer, Roger.
Really good tips, really good tips. And you expressed something that I believe deeply too. You've got to understand yourself before you can expect others to understand you. So know what your brand is all about, know what problem you're solving, know what pain point you're addressing before you go out there and start to pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you cater to everybody else's needs and your identity is completely gone at some point. And it's also hard to articulate your business as well.
And you don't have time to waste when you're starting up a business. Unless you've got deep pockets and lots of cash lying around in the bank, you've got to start earning money quickly. So you've got to do what you can to get it right as early as you can.
Yeah, like it. So last question for you, Roger. It comes from Abby. She's asking, how can I do market research for my startup for free?
Okay, very good question. Thank you, Abby. Market research. We kind of touched upon this in question number 1, I feel. So this is good that it's coming up this way again. Careful research will help you make sure you've got the right product, getting out to the right people, the right time, for the right price, through the right distribution channel. So it all comes down to market research. Look, I know I've been there as a new entrepreneur. You get very excited about your idea. You want to jump to execution, start to get customers right away. But the more time you can spend on market research, the more likely you're going to hit that target early on. Like I said, you don't have time to waste or tons of cash to throw out the window. So it's going to be really important just to pause, spend the time doing the market research so you understand who you're selling to and what you're up against. There's a couple of ways you can do that, but don't cost a lot of money. Number one, can you survey your potential customers? Can you get some of them on a list, send them something using like SurveyMonkey or anything like that? Ask them some questions that you want answered about your proposed new product or service. Pricing, how much can they pay? When would they like to buy it? What other options do they have they would consider buying, aka your competition? Ask those types of questions. Can you interview prospects? Do one-on-one interviews with potential customers. Again, these are people who might buy from you. They're going to be a little hard to find, but there are ways you can do that. Or can you hold a focus group? Get a bunch of your potential customers in the room and just pick their brains on everything about your new proposed service. You know, Lily, I'm reminded of an entrepreneur who didn't have any money, wanted to get really good market research. So they did something I thought was pretty incredible. They went and they prepared a little survey and they stood outside the storefront of a competitor, their future competitor, once they opened their own store down the street. And they just stopped people coming out of that competitor's store and they asked, could I ask you a few questions? I'm opening up a business in the area. You know, 9 out of 10 people said, go away, I'm too busy, don't bother me. But the 1 out of 10 people who stopped and answered that entrepreneur's questions gave them market research gold, because here was this entrepreneur talking to the customer of a competitor just at the time of purchase. So she was able to really get some insights into what motivated those people to buy from the competitor and what they thought the competitor's strengths were, and it really helped her develop her own market research assessment. A couple of other things. Investigate your competition thoroughly. Identify your top 3 competitors and do as much research as you can on them as possible. Go online, go to their places of business if possible, talk to people who shop there. You want to know your competitors almost better than you know yourself. And that doesn't stop with your initial research. That's something that should continue throughout your business career. You should go to government websites, lots of information, secondary information about your market and the industry you're getting into, available from government sites. Go and visit your local economic development office, or in the United States, the Small Business Administration office. There's one in every community. There's also national associations you can tap into and get market research about pretty much anything you're looking to start up through those government agencies. Last bit of advice, a true market test. Once you've collected all your research and formed the genesis of a product or a service, can you test market a minimum viable product, or MVP? Not a full-blown offering, but just a little taste of what you propose to build and get feedback on it. It's very easy to do in today's digital world. Perhaps it's on a website where you ask people, you know, here's what we propose to sell. Would you buy it? And let them actually shop it and enjoy the basic ingredients of your eventual product or service and get feedback on that. It's like coming up with a basic version of software if you're in the software development game. Minimum viable product will give you the ultimate feedback before you go full on in launch mode. That's enough for me, Lily. Really a great question. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. I love your answer was so detailed and so concise. And I don't know what else I would add with it. I think there's lots of ways to do market research for free. And I think you mentioned a lot of it. And for me is testing your product or service right away. So yes, do all your research, do all the risk management, everything. You could do a SWOT. So when I worked in retail, when I worked in the fashion industry, we used to do the SWOT analysis, which is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And I found it quite helpful in addition to testing your products. So that's shopping the competitors, making sure that, see what they're up to. And in the fashion industry, unfortunately, what I have seen that has happened is that everyone started looking the same. And so it's good to pay attention to the competitors and test your products as well. And I would also go a little bit further and suggest looking at people who are not directly in your space, people who are kind of complemented. So before I left the fashion industry, we started looking at, so I worked for a footwear retailer. So we started looking at companies like Apple, for example, even though it's not a direct competitor, but they are competing for the customer's disposable income. So we start looking at things outside of the actual commodity itself.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Really good tips.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Do we have a startup tip today, Roger?
Yeah. And you know what? Hopefully it's seasonal. Hire an accountant is today's startup tip. Yeah,
you hit a pain point for me.
Oh no, taxes to pay. It's tax season. It's tax season right now, and I got to say, I get upset when I see so many entrepreneurs wasting their time, in my opinion, trying to do their own books, trying to prepare their own tax returns, trying to file their own tax returns, when an accountant, or at the very least a bookkeeper, can do this stuff for you. This is stuff that should be left up to the pros, in my opinion. Doing your own taxes is a distraction to your job. As we talked about earlier, Lily, in the segment, your job as an entrepreneur is managing people, innovating, getting customers, growing the business, not entering receipts and tallying up those columns. I took a lot of accounting in school and I can do it, but I don't want to do it. I want to do marketing and sales. I want to lead my team. I want to get out there and engage with the customer. If I don't bring in sales, there's not going to be much bookkeeping or accounting to do anyway, because there won't be any money. So, leave it up to the experts. You don't understand tax law unless you are an accountant yourself. It's better to work with people who know this stuff. I rely on my accountant completely. And you know what? Here's the thing. The accountant will save you money. A lot of entrepreneurs go, but Roger, I can't afford to pay an accountant. Well, here's the thing. You can't afford not to hire an accountant. I guarantee you, because of their knowledge and their expertise in taxes and accounting, they will find ways to save you money, to claim deductions that perhaps you didn't even think about. So they're going to pay for their own fees through those deductions that they discover. So why wouldn't you save yourself this incredible hassle, free up your time, keep your sanity by hiring an accountant? And I'll add one thing. One of my clients is Sage Software. They're one of the world's leading manufacturers of accounting software. And we run a seminar series just for accountants in North America. And, whenever I get a chance to talk to accountants, I'm always amazed at how much work they get during this time of year at the very last minute, because a lot of entrepreneurs decide to do or start their own tax return. Then they get frustrated and fed up, and they run to the accountant with the shoebox full of receipts or the memory stick full of Excel spreadsheets, begging them to get it done before the tax deadline. So those accountants always say to me, you know what, Roger, we appreciate any kind of work. We appreciate working with entrepreneurs, but if they would just bring the files to us a little earlier, we could do a better job and we wouldn't be so stressed. So that's the last piece of the formula, Lily, is don't delay. Get your taxes in quickly. Don't leave it to the last minute. It will take a few weeks for accountants to do their magic. So the sooner we start on that process, the better. Okay. What are your thoughts? What is your tax pain point? You made a motion there that got me concerned.
So there was a time that I used to do all my own taxes, and it was a giant waste of my time, because in the end I wasted. This is when I didn't have my own business. This is when I was working for a corporation, and even then it took a long time. So I am all for hiring the professionals to do the work. I do not take care of my own taxes. And yes, no, this is so funny when you're mentioning about these people dropping off bags of receipts at the accountant's office. I have seen that happen. But I try to not leave it to the last minute. And I also have someone who's really good, and she takes care of everything for me. So I'm very happy about that.
And you probably rest easier knowing an expert is looking after the stuff for you.
Exactly. I don't have to worry about if I submitted that. It's so much better. Just leave it to the experts. Leverage other people's strengths. Don't worry about it. Just continue on with your business.
The other benefit to working with an accountant is if you're ever dealing with, in Canada, the Canada Revenue Agency, or in the States, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, the accountant will handle this for you. So if they've done your taxes, they will answer any questions or concerns, or heaven help you, an audit. They will look after that stuff for you. So really, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you leave all this stuff to someone else who is trained and better equipped to deal with it, so you can run your business stress-free and focus on what you do best?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love this. I know taxes, not my favorite part of my business. That's for sure.
I don't think you're alone in that, Lily.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that's it for me. Anything else for you to add?
No, I'm good. I think we covered everything. Is leveraging your own strength and allowing others to take care of your weaknesses. I think that's been the overall theme of the show.
Absolutely. That's the secret sauce to a healthy business.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Lily, and thanks to everyone for watching. If you've got questions you want us to answer, please enter them in the comment section below, and we'll do our best to get to them in the next episode.
Wonderful.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.